Well, it is opening night, but we got business to talk about here, you know. Yeah, so a lot of electricity in the air. We'll talk about it, but there's a little bit of electricity on the paw socks situation, regenerated by the Warwick mayor, Scott Avedisian, who actually a couple of months ago, I think, floated an idea to the paw socks that got lost in some almost circular file that just came up again, and he'll tell the whole story. And there's a little bit of conversation, which was actually pretty well received on the Dan York radio show on WPRO weekdays noon to 3 by people who were dialing in thinking Avedisian was doing the right thing and advocating for his city. So we'll talk to the good mayor about that here in studio coming up. How are you? It is a big night. You can feel the electricity in the air. And no, this is not the Patriots pregame, but you've got time. Relax. Let's go to the opening night discussion. I mean, there's no way you can avoid it. You know, it's a lonely feeling for a guy like me because I'm a Giant fan, and there's plenty of us out there. But when things are just so momentum built for a Thursday night opening, the commissioner, oh, he's not coming, so you can't boo him. By the time we record the show late afternoons, and you see it in the evening at 7:30 on MyRide TV, 11:30 on MyRide TV, and then, of course, in Fox Providence at midnight. So if you're watching at 7:30, well, you kind of don't know what's happened yet. Here's the headline. Obviously, there's now football drama. But, of course, Tom Brady will be out there, and the ovation will be crazy, man. You know, Belichick. I didn't see the NFL show Do Your Job, the NFL Network. I got to see that show. I mean, maybe even tonight I'll be watching that show prior to the Patriots. There is a slight chance that I'll probably get a phone call from somebody who's got an extra ticket at some party up in the parking lot of Foxborough on the way home tonight. And so I'm most likely on the couch with you. But then again, I could be in section 214, you know, with the other Blotto fans that are all walking as we speak. Just be nice to the bishop, will you? He's a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. If he's there tonight, my guess is he is. Be nice to him, for heaven's sakes. All right, let's move on. Yeah, Jim Langevin makes 4. He has signed on to the Iran nuclear deal. He is the 4th of 4. We have 4 federal representatives. I think you know your civics. If you watch this show, you should. So Jim Langevin has signed on. He says after much contemplation, and CBS gives you a rundown of where that whole vote stands right now.
Never, ever, ever in my life have I seen any transaction so incompetently negotiated as our deal with Iran.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says she battled through an allergy attack to show support for the deal.
Republican histamines are everywhere.
She acknowledged the agreement isn't perfect, but says going forward, it's the best way to keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
You remember President Reagan's line about the Soviets, trust but verify. My approach will be distrust and verify.
A vote on the plan could come by the end of the week.
So nothing is going to unwind this deal right now. If a vote is no, it will not sustain a veto, and that may end up being just too messy for the country. There are conservatives who are standing pat that this thing is going to put lives in danger and Israel at risk. No matter what, there will be a major conversation for the 2016 presidential campaign and is completely reversible. So I wouldn't get too comfortable if you're the Ayatollah over there, who, by the way, predicted that Israel wouldn't be around in 25 years. Nice guy. Next item. Yeah, and speaking of the Donald who was in that piece, he continues to now make a scene. The headline in the New York Times. Yeah, Rolling Stone did a piece. I only started reading it today because it just came out, and here's a package on the entire flap.
Presidential candidate Donald Trump is known for making blunt remarks, but a comment he made about his opponent Carly Fiorina has drawn swift criticism. In an article for Rolling Stone magazine, Trump said, "Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that? The face of our next president? I mean, she's a woman, and I'm not supposed to say bad things, but really, folks, come on. Are we serious?" Trump called into Fox and Friends Thursday morning to try and clarify his remarks.
I'm talking about persona. I'm not talking about look.
Fiorina responded on Megyn Kelly's show.
Megyn, I'm not going to spend a single cycle wondering what Donald Trump means, but maybe, just maybe, I'm getting under his skin a little bit because I am climbing in the polls.
Ms. Fiorina is only at 3%. The Donald's at 30+%. But the truth of the matter is that Donald is a combination of narcissist, chauvinist, perhaps misogynist, and clearly a loose cannon. And if you think he's presidential material, I got a bridge. You know, there's 20 of them in Rhode Island that I could sell you. At least they're going to be told. I'm moving on to the next subject matter. But here's the thing. I really wasn't. I thought I was just fooling around with you, Laura. Or can just hit the switch. Donald Trump is going to get us into World War III. And I think all of you who support Donald Trump know it in your gut that this is going to be a romance, a political romance that will have to end before things get serious. All right, next item. DOT changes. The Providence Journal has the headline here. Yeah, okay. Well, here's the situation. Is that actually the headline that I'm talking about? I guess it is. Is this the DOT changes? I don't think so. I think perhaps this is a headline that doesn't match the exact story, but that would be, can you imagine 3 people actually go through the show at the beginning of the show and get confused? What does that have to do?
The DOT, the big story on the front page with the DOT.
Laura, I mean, Jess has explained to me, but she doesn't like to come close. She's like the, you ever see, what was it, the Charlie's Angels? She's Charlie in Charlie's Angels. What is it?
Make you Farrah Fawcett.
It makes me Farrah Fawcett, yes. What was the flooding about?
The DOT for the clogging of the drains,
Oh, so the DOT was involved in the clogging of the drains.
No, but
Okay, well, you know, sometimes this happens to us. When you do 2 shows a day, every once in a while, things get by you. But the point of the matter is that the governor has advanced that there will be changes at the DOT and more personnel changes. That was really kind of my thinking here. Whoops. Oh, you wanted to talk about that, Chubby? But yeah, I did. But here's the thing. I would just like to say that I don't know what that flooding thing is about, but I do know this, that the DOT better start making changes like getting their act together before they announce a $600 million plan to toll trucks to pay for bridges. That would be a nice culture change. And good luck on the flooding. All right, and the last item. Sometimes things happen. Lally Lands. Yeah, this guy, Don Lally, I don't know, state rep for 25 years, South Kingstown, Narragansett, that area. He quit in the middle of his session this past winter, family reasons, which is, you know, not great, but I understand. And then he lands this job, according to the Independent in South County, $87,000. Now, and his job is a liaison to cities and towns, working for the Department of well, the DBR, Business Revenue, the Regulation, Department of Business Regulation. I have no idea what that job is, and neither does anybody else, and most likely neither does Don. But it does add into your pension. And so you can thank the Speaker and the Governor for playing some old-fashioned politics for a gig that absolutely is ridiculous. Your state of mind is important to us. We'd like to hear what you have to think. Facebook posts seem to be more popular than phone calls, and we love the phone calls. I guess you call me so much on the radio, you don't like to call me here, but you can call me anytime. We'll put your voice here on the television. Here's this Facebook post, though, in reaction to some of our Trump conversation. I think that Bush-Obama years have left a bad taste with many Americans, probably why Donald Trump continues to gain in popularity. We tried kinder and gentler. We tried social and cultural experiments. This is something of a backlash, I think. Michael, you're absolutely correct. And it's a short-lived backlash, because that guy he can't be the President of the United States. Listen, every time he makes news, we'll follow it. He's leading in the polls. But underneath it all, I think we all know, it can't happen, right? Scott Avedisian, next. What's he trying to make happen? Even the mayor of Warwick got a kick out of that DOT story. We'll get our act together. Hey, every once in a while it happens. But this is a really interesting development. Here's a headline. The War Sox. Now, I don't know if they ripped me off or I said it first, but you know what? No one can take authorship of something that seems so simple. If it's the Paw Sox, it could be the War Sox, although I can't figure out what the mascot would look like. A soldier? I'm not sure. But here's what the Paw Sox spokesperson said when Eyewitness News asked about what's happening now that Brown has kind of put some, I don't know, kinks in the armor.
We still remain very enthusiastic and excited about the possibility of reaching a renegotiated agreement with the state. And I think, rather than speculate on that and what will happen if it doesn't work out, we really just want to keep focused on what we can make happen.
So, welcome.
How are you?
So, what do you think about the DOT flooding and
We have plenty of footage from 2010 if you want some.
Yeah, I bet you do. I mean, I say flood, you probably start to twitch.
Yeah. Oh, we say, we've done that. It's
right?
okay.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, we get it under control.
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
So on the radio today, as we were talking about your little idea about, hey, if it's not there, you could think about us, it was pretty well received. I think people recognize that you're A, advocating for your city, and B, throwing another conversation into the mix. So do me a favor, explain how, because this didn't happen this week. This
Correct.
happened a while ago, and then bing,
right.
What happened?
So back in February, I sent Jim Skeffington a letter saying, I know you've just announced this, but we have 3 or more parcels that we think you might want to look at. I've heard you talk about...
Just want to make sure everyone knows Jim Skeffington, who did pass away suddenly and unexpectedly and tragically, was the counsel for the Red Sox and the lead partner in the Paw Sox, who came in barnstorming, buying the team and announcing the move to McCoy. Okay.
Right. And so, I had worked with Skeff on stuff before, and so I sent him a letter saying, let's talk about it. There are other possibilities here. I've heard you say that you need hotels and restaurants nearby. We have them. I've heard you say that you need good transportation. Well, we have an airport, a train station, and a RIPTA hub all within a block. So the things I've heard you say, I think we might, have some good options for you to look at. Of course, unfortunately, Jim passed away, and a week and a half ago I was out at the Paw Sox. We did a night where our police and fire honor guards were bringing the Warwick North girls, who came in runners-up in the World Series out there, and so I was talking to some of the leadership team from the Paw Sox, and happened to say, well, we sent a letter back in February, and I didn't hear anything, and wasn't really thinking of the fact that there was a newspaper reporter not far from me who would pick up on that, and it became a much bigger story than I ever anticipated. But that's okay. I still think it's a good option. We have we have 95 acres across from the airport that we've rezoned as City Center Warwick. We've been lucky in enticing Salve Regina to move a satellite campus there. Ocean State Theater to do year-round Theater by the Sea programming. They used to do the programming down in Matunic. They're now up here. And we think that could be a good fit for the type of activity we want there. The restaurants, we already have restaurants, hotels. Our hotels are at high occupancy already. So I think we have a lot of the good features that they were talking about that they wanted in Providence. So now let's have a discussion about 3 or 4 possibilities and parcels that might work for them.
Well, honestly, from scratch, I think it's brilliant. What's weird, and it's not about you, it's about the Paw Sox, their approach has been really dysfunctional, all due respect to Mr. Skeffington, God rest his soul, and that continues to be dysfunctional. And what was a public ask for $120 million for the 195 redevelopment land, which was panned, has now become a private conversation behind the scenes with the Speaker and the Governor, with some things that are leaking out, like Brown saying, hey, that's not enough money for our left field bill. So the whole thing is in a real bad place, and the public is so down now on the conversation. You're kind of, hey, might have brightened a few bushy tails anyway, but it's the Paw Sox obligation, I think, to define what an urban ballpark need is, because that's what they're saying, right? I don't think Warwick, even with all this stuff you're talking about down Jefferson Boulevard or Route 1 or whatever, is what they're talking about. But from scratch, I think your idea is kind of neat.
But you've seen where that kind of concept has worked in so many different cities, and we've looked at small stadiums with 10,000 seats and what can work. And we think we have...
Yeah, but you're not a city. You're the second largest city in the state, but you're not a city. You're a sprawled suburban city with some stuff in an airport.
Right, but we do have an airport and you do have a train station, so when they talk about needing those transportation hubs and links, we already have them. And they're the only place you're going to find them in Rhode Island. So we said, we should at least advocate for our city and throw out some options that might work.
So what is your concept in general about what's going on with the Paw Sox and the 38 Studios cloud that hangs over the public's disposition on any public-private partnership projects, and the burden that's existing here right now, which is that this better cost the taxpayers little or nothing.
I think I can understand the anger that people have, you know, and especially when details haven't been made public on what's going on and where that stands. So in sending it back out, you know, our letter back out, we thought that we might be able to say it doesn't have to be a discussion about tax giveaways. You know, come look at the land, come talk to us about what's going on. DOT's put, you know, $1 million into infrastructure in the neighborhood that will do some of the things that you say that you want to do. And let's at least have a dialogue.
Is your land accessible, purchasable, offerable? Yes. What is it? What's the definition of the options of the land?
It's not city-owned, so it's not a partnership, so it won't be giving away property. So we're going to have to negotiate with landowners who have shown an interest in the past to either sell or release their land.
Okay.
So it's all it's doable. We just need a willing partner to go have some discussions.
All right. What's been the feedback since this became cyclical in the news?
They got the letter again on Friday. I have yet to hear from them, but we're going to call them again tomorrow.
Governor, speaker conversations?
Very, very limited conversations. I think people are still trying to figure out. I think most people are probably saying, oh, do they have enough land? And I'm trying to look at all the info to say, could this possibly work?
Got any guilty complex over the idea that your peer in Pawtucket has been trying to save McCoy Stadium?
No, I told him early on, when I told him that I was sending the letter back in February, I said, I don't want to be in competition with you, but should they make a decision that they're definitely not staying where they are, then I think that I at least should go out and advocate for my community and send a proposal.
I wonder if this thing will ever circle back to McCoy. These guys are 11 feet down on a 10-foot board saying, McCoy's a dead idea for us. So it's Providence or bust, but maybe not. I think Springfield, Mass. is lurking. Mm-hmm. I really do, with the casino money that they've got there. But you do provide a very interesting what if, and I'm glad you've done that, because I think at the end of the day, as angry as people are about the numbers that are rolling around, a loss of the Paw Sox in Rhode Island would be a lifestyle and cultural blow.
Well, and it's more bad news that we don't need, when there are viable options to try to keep them here. Now, I think we also need to talk, you know, in the future about if they leave Pawtucket, what do you do with that stadium?
I think they'll tear it down, and the state's going to have to help fund an educational center for Pawtucket to consolidate their high schools. They put athletic fields up, and they don't, you know, they're fine.
You know, because that.
I think that's what'll happen.
I think, you know, that's an economic generator, at least in some way, shape, or form for the city, and it's bringing people in. You know, you got to think about what that's going to mean for the city.
Well, I think one way or the other, the leadership of the state better start making plans to make them whole, period. Do you agree with me, last thought on this, do you agree with me, though, that the speaker and the governor should spit up what they know the Paw Sox are willing to do now in Providence, sooner than later, holding this thing behind closed doors? Once it, you know, a lot of stuff, you deal with a lot of stuff privately that's not ripe for public consumption, and I get that, but once it's started publicly, holding it back like this is bad politics and leadership.
It adds to the cynicism that people already have.
Right.
And so therefore, the quicker that you get to say, this is what the deal looks like now, I think people will be able to look at it and say, it's better, it's worse, whatever. It may be worse, it may be better. Who knows? It may be the same. Yeah. But I think the more information you give out, the better off everybody is.
All right, a couple other things. It's not like he doesn't have other things on his plate, but the mayor, stay with us. All right, welcome back in. Scott Avedisian is our guest. The airport expansion seems to be going on some kind of good schedule, correct?
Yes. We are now, we've just reopened the Winslow Park, the new Winslow Park. So soccer fields and softball fields have reopened off of Airport Road, which allowed them to close the ones over on Main Avenue. So now they can start the actual work on Main Avenue to do the extension that way. They will keep the existing Main Avenue open until the new Main Avenue is built, so we're not going to lose any traffic, not going to have detours or any of that. But they're about a week later than they wanted to be, but it's going pretty well.
It seems like, you know, the city of Warwick is in pretty good shape, except for pensions, and I can't seem to get a grip on. I know you've got some people who are in your underwear constantly saying that you're misrepresenting the numbers on pensions and the liability that the city has. There are others that say the thing is pretty well managed and in long term can. But you've given off a flavor to some that you are too union concession oriented. What do you say to that in terms of because everything else in the city work seems like it's running pretty smoothly.
Well, I don't think you can say that you're too union oriented when you get all the unions to agree to no pay raises for 3 years for all employees. Where else in any city did they get that for 3 solid years, no raises for any employees?
And why did they do that?
I think they did it because we showed them that with the way our pension system is set up, that if the active employees negotiate a raise, then the retirees get that as a COLA. If they negotiate 0, then everyone has nothing for the 3 years, so for 9 years into the pension plan. That cut the unfunded pension liability by $20 million. The unions were willing to sit and talk to us. We showed them the numbers. They were willing to say, yeah, it's going to be hurtful for 3 years, but we understand that that's going to be helpful long term to make sure that the pension plan stays viable. I think when you can sit and work with unions and you can work on deals like that, that's really helpful to everyone. A few years ago when we lost state money, we went in and negotiated with them on furlough days. I'll tell you, the Municipal Employees Union came back and said, we'll take the furlough days, but we want to do it differently. Instead of having every 4th week you lose 1/5 of your pay, and they were saying some people aren't going to be able to budget for that. 1/5 of your pay, 20% of your pay every 5th week is going to be hard for some people to get used to. What if we gave you 2% per week, and so compounded over time, we saved even more money than we were looking for. I think if you can work with unions and you can work with people, you can actually get some good, positive outcome for everybody.
Are you enjoying the new respect that mayors seem to be getting in the state? There seems to be a high level of mezzanine form of government, as I call it. The lieutenant governor, obviously a former mayor, seems to be good in getting you guys together across party lines. Mayors are beginning to matter.
Well, I think we've been trying for a long time to do that. We had some bad years, but we have to make decisions every day that affect people's lives in dramatic ways.
And it's not really partisan, is it?
No.
The politics of Democrat and Republican really don't exist on a municipal level.
Dan, there's no Republican way to pick up the trash or Democratic way, but come hell or high water, it better be picked up by the end of the day when they come home. You have to get the job done. It's like plowing snow. You don't get to say, okay, we're going to go to the streets where the Republicans live first, and then we'll go find the Democrats later.
Unless your buddy Cianci. I think he used to do that.
Well, but also
That's the rumor,
it would take a long time to find the Republican streets to go plow first.
Which only leaves us 30 seconds, so we don't get a chance to talk politics. That's the only thing you and I disagree on. I think you should get the hell out of the Republican Party because I don't think you are one.
And I've been a lifelong Republican, and I don't intend to ever leave.
Someday we should just do a good 30 minutes and knock down, drag out, and really kick each other's tail on that conversation because, other than that, I think you're a really good elected official.
Well, thank you.
But other than that, this guy Trump can't make it.
No, and I feel
right?
I fear he's going to do damage to the party through this process, and people are going to look at some of his comments and say, I can't vote for a Republican because of that. I hope that doesn't happen because I think there are some good Republican candidates, but I think he's going to do some damage.
All right. Let us know on, would you call them the War Sox, by the way? Would you? What would you call them?
Well, maybe they're the Rye Sox, the Rhode Island Sox or something. Who knows?
Ah, see? He's thought of it all. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Thank you.
One more thing. Stay with us. Mayor Avedisian on the War Sox tonight. Be here.
That's the promo.
Oh my goodness. I thought I was doing a promo. Tomorrow is, what kind of night are we having here? Bob Watson, minority leader, former minority leader, tomorrow night. We have 10 seconds. We have a great show tomorrow night with Bob Watson on 38 Studios. You can't miss. And I'll explain what happened some other night. Goodbye.